5 young men left a basketball game in February 1978. The drive home should have taken 47 minutes. Their car was found 4 days later, 70 miles east, abandoned on a snowed-in mountain road they had no reason to take. 4 of their bodies were eventually recovered, scattered across the wilderness of the Plumas National Forest. The 5th was never found. The doors of the car were unlocked. A road map of California sat open on the passenger seat. Next to the map, a single stick of butter. The fuel gauge read just over 4/10 of a tank, enough to drive home, not enough to drive uphill. 47 years later, no theory anyone has proposed has fully accounted for what happened on that road. But the strangeness of that night begins long before the snow. This is the story of the Yuba County 5. It is a case that has been investigated by the FBI, by the Plumas County Sheriff's Department, by the Butte County Sheriff's Department, by 2 grand juries, by 3 independent forensic reviews, and, across the decades, by a small army of journalists, retired detectives, and amateur investigators, all trying to do what the official record never managed: to find one explanation that fits the evidence. None has. Welcome. If a case like this is the kind of story you'd want to keep watching, hit subscribe. It's the easiest way to keep this work coming. To understand what was lost on the night of February 24th, 1978, you have to know who was driving. The cold case file in Plumas County, California is one of the thickest on the West Coast. The men inside it were not connected to organized crime. They were not entangled in romantic disputes. They were not running drugs, hiding from the law, or operating any vehicle they shouldn't have been operating. They were 5 members of a small adult community in Northern California.
Hope they have some coffee ready.
A community that loved them, that knew them well, and that has spent every February since 1978 waiting for the part of the file that explains what came next. 4 bodies were eventually returned. 1 man never was. In the spring of 2024, the FBI quietly added the case to its list of cold files under active review. The events of that evening unfold without a single warning sign. Yuba City sits in the agricultural flatland of California's Central Valley, about an hour north of Sacramento. In the winter of 1978, it was a small town built on canneries, peach orchards, and rice. About 20,000 people lived there. Across the river, in Marysville, lived another 10,000. The 2 towns shared a single high school district, a single county sheriff, and a single non-profit serving adults with intellectual disabilities, the Gateway Center. The Gateway Center occupied a low cinder block building near the edge of town. Its members were adults, most in their 20s or early 30s, whose disabilities ranged from mild developmental delays to recover in schizophrenia. They worked light jobs at local businesses, attended classes during the day, lived in supervised group homes or with their families. And on Saturday mornings, they played basketball. Their team was called the Gateway Gators. The Gators were not a recreational squad. They were a competitive Special Olympics team. They trained year-round. They wore matching uniforms. And on the morning of February 25th, 1978, they were scheduled to play in a tournament in Rocklin, 90 minutes south. A win there would have qualified them for a state-level championship. 5 Gators piled into a single car on Friday night, February 24th, to make the 4-hour round trip up to Chico for a men's college basketball game between Cal State Chico and the University of California, Davis. The game was not a Gateway event. It was just something they wanted to do. A Friday night outing for 5 close friends who happened to share a love of basketball and a tournament the next morning. The 5 were these: Theodore Wire. Ted, to everyone who knew him, was 32 years old. He stood 6 feet tall, weighed 200 pounds, and was, by every account, the gentlest man in the Gateway Center. His disability was moderate. His mother said he was afraid of the dark. Jack Madruga was 30. He owned the car they were driving. a 1969 Mercury Montego 4-door, deep blue, that he had paid for with savings from his job at the local cannery. His disability was mild. He was the de facto driver of the group. William Sterling, Bill, was 29, quiet, reserved, the closest friend of Madruga's. He had been a Gateway member for 6 years. Jackie Hute was 24, the youngest, the most physically active, a long-distance runner in his teens, before his diagnosis. And then there was Gary Mathias, 25, Vietnam veteran, recovering schizophrenic, stable on medication, employed at his stepfather's landscaping company. Of the 5, Mathias was the only one with full motor competence, full map reading skill, and combat-level navigation training. In the words of his older brother, he was the only one of them who could have read the open map on the passenger seat. He was the only one who could have driven a car onto a snowed-in mountain road in February, and he is the only one who was never found. That last sentence is not an interpretation. It is in the file. The Gators coach, scheduled for a 7:30 a.m. bus to Rocklin the next morning, would later tell investigators that the 5 men were as motivated as any team he had ever coached. They had been training for the qualifier for 6 months. They were good. They wanted to be home. Friday night, February 24th, 1978, Chico, California. The drive that became the last hours of a story that has never been closed. The 5 left Yuba City around 5:30 in the afternoon. The drive to Chico is 56 miles up Highway 99, a straight run through Gridley, through Biggs, into Butte County. They had time. The game tipped off at 8. They stopped along the way for gas at a station in the town of Live Oak. The pump attendant, interviewed 8 days later by lead investigator Deputy Lance Ayers, remembered the 5. He remembered Madruga paying in cash. He remembered the men climbing back into the Mercury and continuing north. The attendant noted nothing unusual. Nothing unusual is the recurring phrase in the early portions of this file. The basketball game at Cal State Chico ran from 8 p.m. until just after 9:30. Chico beat UC Davis by 12 points. Several spectators in the upper bleachers would later identify the 5 men from photographs. They remembered the group because Ted Wire had cheered loudly for Chico every time the score updated. After the game, the 5 drove to a convenience store called the Beer Right Market on Esplanade Avenue, less than a mile from the auditorium. The clerk on duty would later identify all 5 men. They entered the store sometime after 9:45. They bought sandwiches, 2 chicken sandwiches, a Snickers bar, a Hershey bar, 2 Pepsi Colas, and 1 carton of milk. The receipt was time-stamped at 10:05 p.m. The clerk remembered them being polite. She remembered them being in a hurry. She would later tell investigators that one of the men, she could not be certain which, said something to the effect of, "We gotta get back, we got a game in the morning." The Bear Right Market sits on the east side of Esplanade Avenue, which runs north-south through Chico. To drive home to Yuba City, the men needed to head south on Esplanade, take it down to Highway 99, and follow 99 south through Gridley, through Live Oak, past the Sutter Buttes, and into Yuba City. The total drive, 56 miles. The total drive time, 47 minutes. Highway 99 in February of 1978 was a clear weather route. No snow, no ice, no closures. The clerk watched the men load the sandwiches into the Mercury Montego. She watched the car pull out of the parking lot at approximately 10:10 p.m. She watched the headlights turn south on Esplanade. That is the last verified sighting of the Yuba County 5. Sometime in the hours that followed, the Mercury Montego with 5 men inside it turned around, or took a wrong turn, or was diverted, or was redirected. We do not know which. We know only that the next time the car would be seen, 4 days later, on the afternoon of Sunday, February 28th, it would be parked at a place called Rogers Cow Camp. Rogers Cow Camp is in the Plumas National Forest. It is at an elevation of 4,400 feet. It is 70 miles east of Chico. It is in the wrong direction, and it is at the end of a snowed-in mountain road. But the search would soon find the car, and the car would tell investigators almost nothing they could use. The phone calls began on Saturday morning. Ida Weir, Ted's mother, was the first to call the Yuba City police. Her son had not come home Friday night. Her son did not stay out overnight. Her son was supposed to be on a bus to Rocklin in 30 minutes. By 8 a.m., all 5 families were on the phones. The Gateway Gators coach went to the bus alone. The tournament went on without them. The first official search started Saturday afternoon along Highway 99, the route the men should have driven home. Deputies stopped at every gas station, every motel, every truck stop between Chico and Yuba City. Nothing. No record of the Mercury, no record of the 5 men, no record of any breakdown, traffic stop, or accident on the route. The search expanded Sunday morning to the side roads, county routes through Sutter County, the unmarked agricultural cuts off Highway 99. Still nothing. By Sunday morning, the families had organized a private search alongside the official one. More than 100 volunteers from Yuba City and Marysville walked the shoulders of Highway 99 in freezing rain. Madruga's family offered a $2,500 reward, most of their savings, for any information leading to the men. The reward was never claimed. The volunteers found a single piece of trash from the Beer Right Market, a Pepsi can, identical in design to the cans the men had purchased, in a roadside ditch 6 miles south of Chico. The can was logged into the file. It was never linked conclusively to the Mercury. The volunteers went home Sunday night, intending to return Monday morning. They would not need to. On Sunday afternoon, February 28th, a Forest Service worker driving the Oroville-Quincy Highway deep in the Plumas National Forest noticed an unfamiliar car parked off the shoulder near a campground called Rogers Cow Camp. The car was a 1969 Mercury Montego, 4-door, deep blue. Its license plate matched the bulletin issued out of Yuba City. The Forest Service worker radioed it in. By dusk, Deputy Lance Ayers was standing in front of the car. Rogers Cow Camp sits in the Plumas National Forest at an elevation of 4,400 feet. It is 70 miles east of Chico. To reach it from the Beer Right Market in Chico, you have to drive 37 miles east on Highway 70, through Oroville, into the foothills, into the Sierra Nevada range, then climb the Oroville-Quincy Highway 33 miles further into the mountains. The road dead ends in deep snow approximately 6 miles past where the Mercury was found. In February, this route is not just inadvisable. It is a route that requires chains, 4-wheel drive, and an actual reason to be in the mountains at night. The Mercury had none of those things. It had street tires. It had no chains. It had no 4-wheel drive. And no one investigating the case has ever been able to identify a single reason for the men to be on that road. The car was undamaged. The doors were unlocked. The keys were not in the ignition. On the passenger seat sat an open road map of California, folded to show Northern California, the same map Madruga's mother said he always kept in the glove compartment. Next to the map, a single stick of butter in its original wax paper wrapping. Investigators photographed the butter. They did not remove it. It is in the evidence file to this day. No theory of the case has ever placed it there. The fuel gauge read just over 4/10 of a tank. Enough to drive home, not enough to drive uphill. The car had been driven approximately 70 miles since the last fill-up at Live Oak. The men had had no reason to refuel between Chico and home. They had had every reason not to drive the Mercury into the mountains. They had done it anyway. There is one eyewitness from that night. His name was Joseph Shons. Sean's was a 63-year-old long-haul trucker who, on the evening of Friday, February 24th, was on his way to look at a piece of cabin property further up the Oroville-Quincy Highway. He drove his Volkswagen Beetle into the mountains in the same window of time the Mercury must have been climbing the same road. About 4 miles past Rogers Cow Camp, Sean's Volkswagen got stuck in deep snow. He tried to free it. The exertion brought on a heart attack. He crawled back into the car, ran the heater intermittently to conserve gas, and lay across the front seat in the dark, waiting to live or die. In his statement to Deputy Ayers, given a week later from a hospital bed in Oroville, Sean's described hearing and seeing several things during the night. He saw a single set of headlights approach from below sometime between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. The headlights stopped, idled, then went dark. He heard voices, multiple voices. He heard whistling. He heard, he said, the unmistakable voice of a woman. He called out for help. The voices and the whistling stopped. The headlights did not come back on. Sometime later, Sean's could not say how much later because he was drifting in and out of consciousness. The headlights returned, turned around, and descended the mountain. He never saw the vehicle. He never spoke to whoever was driving it. By dawn, he was rescued by another driver and taken to the hospital. He survived the heart attack. He died of unrelated causes 2 years later. Joseph Sean's is the only witness who heard the Yuba County Five, if it was the Yuba County Five, on the night they disappeared. He heard them. He heard a woman with them. None of the five was a woman. None of the five had been seen with a woman at any point that evening. To this day, no theory of the case has ever identified who the woman was, whether she existed, or whether Sean's, fading in and out of consciousness from a heart attack in a Volkswagen in deep snow, was hallucinating. The official report classifies his account as credible but unverified. A second eyewitness candidate emerged the following week. A homeowner along Highway 70, 15 miles outside of Oroville, told Deputy Ayers he had seen a vehicle matching the Mercury's description, with what he believed were 5 passengers inside, traveling east on Highway 70 sometime late Friday night or early Saturday morning. He could not pin down the time. He could not pin down the date. He could not say with certainty that there were 5 passengers, or that the car was a Mercury Montego, or that it was deep blue. Ayers logged the statement and classified it as uncorroborated. It is the only other eyewitness account in the entire case file. The bodies began to be found in early June, when the snow had melted enough for searchers to reach the higher elevations. On June 4, 1978, 2 members of a search team that had been combing the forest for 14 straight weeks broke a window of an abandoned Forest Service trailer at Daniel Zink's camp. Daniel Zink's camp is a small clearing in the Plumas National Forest, 19.4 miles uphill from where the Mercury was abandoned. 19.4 miles uphill. In February snow, in street clothes, inside the trailer on a cot at the back of the single room, lay the body of Theodore Weyer. Weyer was 32 years old. He had been 6 feet tall and 200 pounds the last time anyone had seen him alive. The body on the cot weighed an estimated 120. He had lost 80 pounds. His beard had grown out to a length the forensic pathologist estimated at 8 to 12 weeks. He had died of starvation and hypothermia. He was wrapped neatly in 8 bedsheets that had been stacked, folded, on a shelf at the back of the trailer when the trailer was last inventoried by the Forest Service in October of 1977. His shoes had been removed and placed at the foot of the cot. His Timex wristwatch had stopped at a date sometime between January and March of 1978. The watch had a battery, not a winder, and the date read out was wrong, suggesting it had run down on its own. The trailer contained the following items, all inventoried by Deputy Ayers on the afternoon of June 4th. 1 propane heater, full, never lit. A box of waterproof matches, factory sealed, unopened. 87 cans of food, untouched. A case of bottled water. 2 boxes of paperback books, 3 flashlights, 2 of which had working batteries, several changes of dry clothes in a footlocker, and the 8 bed sheets, of which 7 were on Ted Weir's body and 1 was folded across his feet. Ted Weir had walked 19.4 miles uphill in winter in street clothes, away from his car, away from the road he had come up on, away from the town and the family and the team and the tournament he had been trying to reach. He had broken into a Forest Service trailer. He had found food. He had found heat. He had found light. He had used none of it. He had laid down on the cot, and he had starved. He could not have wrapped himself in 8 bedsheets after he died. Someone laid him out. This is the moment in the case where every theory of routine hypothermia falls apart. Hypothermia kills people. It kills them where they stop walking. It does not wrap them in 8 bed sheets, fold a 9th across their feet, and remove their boots. Someone was at Daniel Zink's camp with Ted Weir in the weeks before he died. Someone watched him weaken. Someone laid out his body. And then, sometime after, someone left. In the weeks that followed, 3 more bodies were found. Jack Madruga was located approximately 12 miles uphill from the car, 8 miles short of the trailer, along the same Oroville-Quincy roadbed. He was identified by his clothing and his dental records. His shoes had been removed. They were placed neatly beside the body. Bill Sterling was found within a mile of Madruga. In a similar state, Jackie Hute's remains were found scattered in a clearing further uphill, partially consumed by animal activity. The cause of death on all 3 was logged as hypothermia. No physical injuries, no signs of struggle, no signs of any reason to have been there at all. The 5th body was never found. Gary Mathias, 25, Vietnam veteran, recovering schizophrenic, the only one with map-reading skill and combat navigation training, the only one who could have driven the car onto the road that night, was searched for through the summer and fall of 1978, again in 1979, again in 1980. His remains were never recovered. What was recovered inside Daniel Zink's trailer were his sneakers, placed beside Ted Weir's body. And outside the trailer, in the patches of snow that remained on the higher ridges in early June, a single set of bare human footprints walked uphill into the trees. They went approximately a mile. They were followed by a search team. They ended at a rock outcropping, and they stopped. 3 pages. That is the length of the official summary of the Yuba County 5 case in the Plumas County file. 3 pages. The contents of that car, the location of the trailer, the condition of the bodies, the eyewitness statement of Joseph Shons, the single set of bare footprints. That is what we know. What we do not know fills the room those 3 pages sit in. Lance Mathias, Gary's older brother, has spent the 47 years since February of 1978 pushing, quietly, persistently, on his own time and his own dime, for someone in the FBI or the Plumas County Sheriff's Department to take this case back up. He does not have a theory. He says he has had decades to come up with one, and that none of the theories he tried held. He says only that the men who drove that car into those mountains did not get lost and did not simply freeze and did not choose to leave their younger brother in a snowbank in 1978 without an explanation that someone, somewhere, owed his family. Why did 5 men, motivated above all else to be home in time for a Special Olympics tournament Saturday morning, drive 70 miles in the opposite direction on a Friday night in February into a mountain range in deep snow, away from every road that led home? Why did they abandon a car that was warm, undamaged, with 4/10 of a tank of gas, parked next to a road that led back down? Why did 4 of them walk uphill into the wilderness in street clothes instead of downhill toward town? Why did Ted Weir die of starvation inside a trailer containing 87 cans of food? Who wrapped him in 8 bedsheets? Whose voice did Joseph Shons hear in the dark? Where did Gary Mathias's footprints go? And the question that has, for 47 years, defeated every detective and every forensic pathologist and every journalist who has ever taken this case seriously. What reason could 5 men, intellectually disabled but not unintelligent, men with families and jobs and a tournament the next morning, possibly have had for being where they were that night? In 2004, a Plumas County cold case unit reviewed the file and concluded that there was no new evidence to overturn the original ruling of hypothermia. In 2018, on the 40th anniversary of the disappearance, a major American newspaper published a retrospective interview with the families. The families said they had no new information. They said they were still waiting. In the spring of 2024, the FBI quietly added the Yuba County 5 to the list of cold cases under active review. 47 years on, the file is open again. But the question the file asks is not what happened to those 5 men. The question the file asks, the question it has always asked, is why no version of that night has ever survived contact with the evidence on the ground. What we know fits in 3 pages. What we cannot explain fills a room. And until someone can reconcile a stick of butter, a map open on the passenger seat, a body wrapped in 8 bed sheets in a room full of food, and a set of bare footprints walking into snow, until someone can explain why 5 men, motivated above all else to be home, drove 70 miles in the wrong direction on a winter night, the United States of America still does not know what happened on Oroville-Quincy Highway on the night of February 24, 1978. Thanks for watching Forgotten Files. If this story was worth your time, drop a like and hit subscribe. It genuinely helps us grow. See you in the next one.